are definitely living on a prayer tonight, and we are a heck of a lot more halfway than there because our guest tonight is our resident rock star, not only of Wrestling Championship Entertainment, Ronus Championship Wrestling, but I would even say Sportswire Radio, especially with the brand new hair and that championship belt that he's going to be defending here later this weekend at Luck of the Draw against Billiards. We'll get into that, plus much, much more. Maybe his opinions on the state of affairs here in WC, which is certainly going to be a very, very interesting topic after what we saw. We saw a Killer Rabbit and Craven Rage and other outsiders, plus much, much more. He also has his own vlogs, which you can see on YouTube, that everybody's always talking about, whether it's live streams with Pokemon, WrestleMania watch-alongs, you name it. He does it all. He needs no further introduction, but we're going to give it to him anyway. So, without further ado here on the Sports Report, number one global sports show, pro wrestling star here in the RCW, champion of the world from Wrestling Championship Entertainment. He is the resident rock star, Shawn Jovi. The champ is here. My friend, how are you?
Doing great tonight, Tom. Excited to be here on the show as always.
Absolutely, and certainly this might have been a last-minute one, but I can promise you there's some good reasons why, and certainly Skull's the Soul Hunter, and certainly he's got his own issues, but Craven Rage says it's Bon Jovi. Well, I'll tell you what, he's got more hair than Bon Jovi these days. He probably can do a few more moves in the ring than Bon Jovi these days, but that's here nor there, because for those that are listening and watching on Sports Wire Radio, Shawn Jovi, the resident rock star, it was announced most recently on your latest vlog over on your YouTube page that you are actually going to be defending at Luck of the Draw your Ronus Championship Wrestling belt against Billiards. So for those that are listening and watching, talk about Billiards and how he signed that open contract and what we're in store here coming up later this weekend at WCE's opening day here coming up at Luck of the Draw.
All right, so story time about Billiards here. Billiards was kind of a background creation that was made throughout my intergalactic division through my blog. He was never meant to be a wrestler. He was never meant to be serious. He was never meant to be any of these things. But somehow when I leave an open contract open on my computer to be signed, he magically appears and signs it. So I'm facing an intergalactic being that is not of WCE stature, in my personal opinion. No offense to Billiards, but it's going to be different. I'm not sure how this kind of comedic being will match up with the resident rock star, but what I do know is that I plan on taking him down and sending him back to Intergalacticville.
Okay, well, fair enough here. I guess for whatever reason, I'm thinking of what was the Beastie Boys song, Intergalactic? I'm thinking about.
Yep, that was actually the theme song of the idea.
Oh, okay.
When I came up with the intergalactic division on the blog, that was kind of my idea for music for it. That's what I based it on.
Oh, well, I guess certainly. Why am I not surprised? And obviously, your opponent later this month, Adonis Fellows, the IW champ, I'll get to. But it's interesting because you talk about Billiards and another outsider here, not from WCE, doesn't work here, and I have noticed of late, I don't know if it's a good thing, I don't know if it's a bad thing, I don't know what you and the rest of the locker room feel, but it does seem like over the past couple of months, especially here on Sportswire Radio, a number of outsiders seem to want into WCE and want shots at you guys. I mean, how do you feel about that? As one of the more veterans here and kind of one of the guys that has kind of been the statesman, I think, here of WC. How do you feel about all these outsiders wanting to come in here, the resident rock star, Shawn Jovi?
Ecstatic is one word to put it. Tom, with all these other federations and wrestlers from other federations commenting and saying that they want to be involved with us or us be involved with them, it's huge. It's huge for the backyard community as a whole. This has not been seen in like a backyard wrestling scene very commonly for quite some time, since when I first started yarding, actually, when I was younger. So the fact that these other people might want to come to WCE and do some kind of like, super show, that would be key. It would be prime. It would be something I'd like to see in the future. If so, I would like to see it work. I mean, if it ever happens, I'm all in on it.
Okay, I mean, I hope that we're going that road, and
Yep.
certainly there are more people that have tuned in here while you sort of fix some technical difficulties there. Casey Jack Bradley says hello. Also, Nicholas Crenson, the new Messiah, who I know you're going to have something to say for in a little while, says, "Good luck, Jovi, against Billiards. Hope you keep that RCW title by the time you use your rain check to challenge me for the Interstate Openweight Championship." Well, you got to get there first, Nicholas Crenson, and I
I agree with
promise
that.
we're going to talk about that in a little while. So that is certainly a clue to hang out here with us on Sportswire Radio. And Skulls says, what is your thoughts on Catalyst getting attacked, which came out today on the WC socials? Again, stay tuned. I'm going to ask about that. But certainly, we still have a little bit to get to here with our champion. That is Mr. Shawn Jovi. And, it's funny you talk about it because I'm with you, Shawn Jovi, that I think that this is a good thing. That the last few months, and tell me your thoughts on this, in the fact that there's a forbidden door that has been opened, not just in yarding, backyard wrestling, professional wrestling, whatever you want to call it. But when I think about these people, whether it's Skulls, whether it's C2K, whether it's Stephen Havoc, whether it's who else might be, Casey Jack Bradley from the UK, and I see that these different individuals show that the forbidden door is open, I think it's good for everybody. And I think back to where, like you said, who would have thought this would have happened 5 years ago, certainly 10 years ago? And I got to
Right.
think that without tipping your hand, I mean, it's got to bode well, I think, for the opening season here coming up in WC, because I think this is the most anticipated we've ever been here for a season in Wrestling Championship Entertainment. What's your
Correct.
thoughts on all that?
I 100% agree with you, Tom. I am very excited for this upcoming season for many reasons. Obviously, I think the big one is because of all these people wanting to come to us or have come to us and said, hey, we want to wrestle with you. I think that, again, is awesome. That has been seen in the backyard scene in at least 10 years, at least frequently. So it's exciting. I can't say anything like less about it. It's a big opportunity, and to open the forbidden door, or in the backyard world, I kind of like to call it the forbidden gate.
Well,
Okay,
Nicholas Cranston says the Forbidden Yard, but
I like that
that's
too.
actually a good one. I have to say, give Nicholas Cranston credit on this one. The
I
Forbidden Yard
will.
is actually pretty good.
The yard. I just think of like a door, and I'm like gates to the backyard, like a
Well,
little fence or
I have a
whatever.
funny story with the door. Actually, I was in an apartment building in Brooklyn, and Anthony Finkel will appreciate this. And I'm going down the stairs, and all of a sudden it's like 7:30 at night. And it's just about hit dark, and the lights are off, kind of like Metallica hit the lights. And I go to open the door, and it turns out there was like no door handle, only like some
Oh
sharp
goodness!
object, and I wound up splicing my finger. So it was kind of a
Ouch!
funny story there. So that might have really been a forbidden door, but. I do have some comments toward that in a second, but I'd asked this question to Crave, and I've asked this to Krenson and some of the other guys in the locker room that have been on here in Sportswire. And I'm curious because you're one of the veterans in the game. And in a way, is this almost like, let's say, during the Attitude Era when you saw WCW, ECW guys, but the veterans in that WWF locker room at the time didn't take kindly to it in a way and kind of wanted to show these outsiders whose boss is it? And maybe in a way, should I ask you that same question? And do you guys actually still feel like that those of you in the locker room, the veterans here of this company who built this company to be one of the top companies around in all of wrestling, not just backyard wrestling, but you kind of want to show these outsiders who's boss and maybe even make an example of them? I mean, what's your perspective on all that?
Well, I think with any goal of any wrestler is to be the very best, like no one ever was. So you want to build yourself and to become the best oiled machine possible ever as a wrestler, right? That's your ultimate goal, to be the best. It doesn't have to be the best at like everything, but be the best at something. Have a title, have a great career, whatever. And I think this is probably like I said, with this Forbidden Gate opening, I think it's got a lot of potential to do a lot of things. And for the roster, I think it's a great opportunity for a lot of them, especially the guys who are not up to the level where they could be yet. It'll help them reach their maximum potential. And I think that's what this Forbidden Yard or Forbidden Gate would be, is to elevate talent in the backyard or the independence of the professionals or wherever the gate or door may lead.
All right, well, I have a couple of comments here for some different individuals, but I have a ton of comments here. First, let me get to my emerging high school basketball turning college basketball stars because they are here. So I want to give them some shout outs. First, Jason Getz, a guy out from here in Long Island who's a very, very emerging basketball star here, says Shawn Jovi is the best wrestler in WWE. Well, I mean, hey, I think you're the best wrestler all around. So, I mean, that would certainly be an easy way to put it. So he put WC. Actually, he checked.
Yeah, I was going to say WWE.
He changed it. Listen, give him credit. Give him
we're
credit.
not there yet. We're not. We're about halfway there, but we're not there yet.
Also, I have a fun one here for an emerging star who's going to come on to Sportswire Radio. Just got signed to play college basketball here in the Northeast, and his name's James D. Simone, and he actually wants some help with something. So I want to ask you, as obviously a veteran, somebody who knows a thing or two in the game, and he says he'd like to be seeing some moves because we have this guy on the show Friday nights called the Brute Force Brad Weiss. You know, he's a big guy, Shawn Jovi. He's got to be about, 6'3", 6'3.5". And, they call him the Brute Force. He's kind of brute-like. He certainly likes to throw his weight around. He's a bit of a bully. And, he's certainly one of those guys that probably would need a move or two in the ring. And I was curious, what advice would you give to a basketball player like a James D. Simone, a little bit short in standard, but maybe in size would like to make up for it by throwing a move or two out there in the ring toward a Brute Force and Brad Weiss? So what advice would you have to take down a bully like Brad Weiss for a James D. Simone?
Oh, man. This is a good one. This is a really good one. Okay. So, I'm not super familiar with basketball and stuff, but
this guy's big. He's like 6'3". He's a big guy.
Okay.
Would you say he's a big guy?
Like bulkier? My size?
No, I think you're a little more bigger than him, but in terms of
he's tall. He's just tall.
He's tall. He's tall and big. Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of things like big guys or tall guys can do. If you're 6'3", you should be doing big moves. Just give your enemy the choke slam, man. That's a cool move. Easy, short.
What I would say, I would have to think for a James D. Simone, maybe take the Brute Force down from the side and put him in a sleeper or chokehold.
Oh, yeah, he's a big guy. Yeah,
anything you want to recommend for him? Because I'm sure that we can make that happen.
Yeah, so if you're going to take down a giant guy like a Brute Force, I recommend going for the legs. I used to wrestle guys. I used to wrestle a guy probably about twice my size, believe it or not, in 2009.
Okay.
By the name of King BW.
Uh-huh.
And that's one strategy for a bigger man. Even if you're a big man yourself and you're outmatched against an even bigger man, always go for the legs. That's where they're most vulnerable. Take it from a big guy who's been chopped down like a tree,
Wasn't that the Kevin Nash strategy? Anytime you had Kevin Nash in the ring, just go for his knees. Or his quad. The famous quad in a match.
Try and tear his quad.
Well, the Brute Force, I'm going to make sure I post this on Instagram when we get off the air because this will certainly fire up.
And honestly, I need to look into this now. I really need to look into
you need to Facebook at Bradley Weiss. If you see a picture of this guy, I'm telling you, this advice, I'm sure you're going to want to rethink about this here. So
yeah, someone definitely message it to me.
What I'll do is I'll make sure at Instagram that this clip gets shared after we're off the air because this will certainly make the Brute Force very brute-like and want to respond certainly on Friday night. But I got several comments here first. Anthony J. Finkel, another big guy, by the way, big wrestling fan, who I think is in Florida right now, calls you the rock star lifestyle, might not make it. He's halfway there, so give him that much.
Yeah, better than living on a prayer.
Amen to that. Certainly, it ain't slippery when wet. And I'll say it's better than being in New Jersey these days. You better keep the faith. I'll say that much. And certainly, we're going to bounce over to Skulls, who says WCE is the new AW. Like the Bon Jovi album references I made, right? Certainly.
I'm in love with them. You might do this better than I do. Maybe you should be Tom Jovi.
I will say when I actually was being conceived, I was apparently I was called the baby Bon Jovi. So I mean, that's what I was apparently called. So I mean, I was supposed.
See, we are friends after all time. We're like
Yes, we
brother.
are.
We're like brothers from afar.
Well, hey, listen, I'll take it, right? Adonis Ferrio says, Resident Rockstar last. We will meet once again, and only this time for championship supremacy. It's not about just to showcase champion versus champion. It's about loyal, respect, and grit. Shawn Jovi, I'll be honored to face you come dead or alive in less than a week from now. Fair enough. We'll certainly see. Nicholas Crenton, I promise you I'm going to get to him. Fun fact, Jovi is 0-3 when it comes to challenging for WCE titles so far. I wouldn't blame him to take time waiting on his rain check. But Nicholas Crenton has one of the longest droughts in all of professional sports when it comes to winning a championship. So that's what I would further add. So stay tuned for that. Cannot knock off Backyard Wrestling Hustle. Amen on that. Anthony Finkel says, shout out to Shawn Jovi. I enjoy your vlogs. Keep them coming.
Thank you. Thank you. I
So do I.
appreciate that.
Almost eat your heart out. Shawn Jovi, how are you doing tonight? Well, great stuff there. And speaking of that, and speaking of outsiders, I'll come back to Crenson in a second. But I have to ask you for the first time because Skulls has kind of been a regular component, I guess, of a lot of these different streams. He's been going off on Craven Rage, and I mean, what do you make of Skulls, the Soul Hunter here of the EWF? Seems like he's coming to WC. I don't know what your thoughts are on him, your relationship is with him. What do you think about Soul Hunters? But what do you make of this whole dynamic and Skulls, the Soul Hunter?
Oh my goodness. So when I first saw the whole Skulls and the whole deal, I was like, oh my God, we got supernatural stuff coming to WC. Not that we didn't already with Craven and that Midnight and whatever came out of the casket at the end of the season. But now we're getting Soul Hunters, we're getting Killer Rabbits. I feel like I thought my intergalactic ideas for the blog were wacky. WC is getting wacky and fun. I'm enjoying what I'm seeing so far.
It's certainly better. It's certainly better than when in 1996 the WWF at the time introduced the likes of Duke the Dumpster Draws and the Dude. I think was for a while.
Wasn't the Job Squad around that time?
A little bit past that, but then you also had Farouk's first gimmick, I think, where Sonny was his manager, I think, and I mean there was just a whole list of gimmicks.
I think that was a pretty disastrous year for them, wasn't it?
That was the year where they thought they were going to go actually bankrupt. Actually, that was the year.
That's why I felt like it was.
Yeah, that was a year that a year to forget. But I have some more comments here that we'll try to remember. Jason Getz wants to say that you were ECW. First, you were WWE. You were ECW, then WC. But Jason is certainly very playful tonight. But we appreciate the basketball players tuning in. Obviously, they're sticking to the court. Cool. But, I want to ask you, because I should ask you about Craven Rage. And Craven Rage certainly seems like he used to be the Rage Against the Machine here in WCE. But rather, these days, he seems to be almost like maybe a cat in a corner. Maybe he's on the defense. I don't know what you want to call it, what term you might want to say. But it seems like, to quote another band, it looks like the cat has dragged in because he's dragged in all these outsiders that have basically been calling him out. Now he's blaming Mark Packer. And I mean, for the first time here, Shawn Jovi, I know you have a victory over him in the past, and you've had your own wars with Craven Rage. But for the first time, and I can remember here, Craven Rage really seems like his run is coming to an end. Is the clock ticking finally on Craven Rage, especially now that a Killer Rabbit wants him?
I think Craven's days are numbered, potentially. The more and more he defends that belt, the more and more he is closer to losing it, it seems. Now, with this Killer Rabbit character they're coming about, I'm not sure what exactly that rabbit is or what it was. I mean, first time I saw it was on Sportzwire earlier this week. And I was just mind blown.
On Easter, no less, by the way. You know the irony that Killer Rabbit was actually on Easter.
I know. I saw, and my mind was just like, "Where is the world going?" I'm enjoying it, but like sometimes it's just like, "Whoa," you know. But as far as Craven goes, I would say his days are getting numbered. I think he has a disadvantage this time with the Killer Rabbit. Why? Because we never seen him. We don't know what he's capable of. We don't know he's basically going into the field of the unknown.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like sometimes in wrestling or anything else in life, that when you don't know something, how can you plan for it? At least when C2K calls out Craven Rage or even a Skulls, you
Yep.
know who they are. They have
Oh
stuff
yeah.
out there. They're well documented. Stephen Havoc also from the RWA, but Killer Rabbit, nobody knows anything about him. Or even, you can't even say it's a him, it's a rabbit. I mean, nobody knows anything about Killer Rabbit. I mean, so how do you plan for something you know nothing about?
Exactly. If I were Craven, I'd get ready for rabbit season. It's just it's as simple as it gets. You either take out the rabbit or you lose your title. And
Well, Craven
Craven,
has no choice, right? He has to take out Killer Rabbit, no?
right, exactly. And that's the thing. Can he do it? Because he doesn't know what he's up against. Heck, if I faced him, I wouldn't know what I'd be up against. No, it's such an unknown supernatural factor that you have to take into consideration before the match psychologically, I feel.
I also feel like Craven, in a lot of ways, has made too many enemies. It almost reminds me toward the end of Training Day when Denzel Washington's character, everything kind of catches up to him. All the different people, all the different gangs. And you think about Craven Rage right now, and whether it's outsiders like C2K who's calling him out, or Skulls, certainly, or Stephen Havoc, or now this Killer Rabbit, and then Kodak Kid. I mean, you think about all these different people that he's made enemies with. And it seems like for the first time that, and now Mark Packer he's calling out. I mean, Mark Packer of all people he's calling out. So it just shows you that the champion, I mean, all he would say on Sportswire is, "I'm the greatest. I'm the greatest. Nobody's ever beat me. I'm the greatest. I'm the greatest." But he didn't seem like the greatest. He seemed like the guy that was the most vulnerable right now.
Yeah, he almost seemed humbled at the sight of Killer Rabbit. It was
I think afraid would be more like it. He seemed
yeah,
like,
I think the fear put him in his place. Like watching that broadcast, he wasn't as confident as he normally was. You could tell
wow.
he didn't know what was going on. I'm sure the voodoo doll that the rabbit had probably threw him off even more. That's some scary stuff. Voodoo dolls are nothing to mess with.
I
I'm
had people
sure.
message me and they were saying, "What are you doing speaking to a rabbit on Easter?" And I'm like, "Well, we didn't know this until literally we went on the air." People think like all of a sudden, "Hey, I just know the game plan and everything." I mean, that was just something that was put on us literally like in the still of the night, to quote White Snake and David Coverdale. It was in the still of the night, no pun intended.
Yeah, the irony is just unreal, very unreal.
Well, I have a ton of comments because people want to talk tonight, and I really appreciate all the support we've been getting on the last several shows when it comes to wrestling coverage here on Sportswire. Also, for whatever reason, Skulls wants to say, "What? Craven is the one who called me out." But yes, but there's other people now who want a piece of Craven Rage. And Skulls, you might want him in July, but today it's April 11th. And right now, you might be the first in a long line of people that seem like they want Craven Rage. And we'll see if Craven even makes it through luck of the draw. Jason Getz, certainly, you need to go to WCE Heat on YouTube and Facebook and WCHeat.com, because the resident rock star Shawn Jovi has gone through tables in the past. He has
Yep.
put a lot more people through tables, and that's where you can find all of that stuff on Wrestling Championship Entertainment. So that's what your job should be to do while you're off the basketball court for a little bit.
Google
Craven
Three
Rage,
Doors Down. Look up Three Doors Down. That's the match you want.
definitely, definitely, and you're not a loser. Certainly, as they famously was saying. And Craven Rage finally puts his foot in his mouth. Sucks to be Craven. Yeah, I mean, you know what, Craven? He's real quiet tonight. We have no appearance right now of Craven Rage, so who knows what is going on in his mind? Where is that little mouse named Craven Rage? That's exactly my point, Skulls the Soul Hunter. James D. Simone, who's going to Missouri University, by the way, I believe in the state of Pennsylvania. Big shout out to him. Says, "Shawn Jovi, I need you to take care of the brute force. He just destroyed me." Yeah, well, we spoke about that, and I think the thing is, Shawn Jovi's going to look at the tape of the brute force, and then he's going to get back to us. So again, I think that's your strategy in the meantime is take him from behind. That's what you should do. Take him.
Chop the legs. I'm telling you, chop down the legs. That's how you take a big man down.
Timber!
Exactly.
Tick tock, Craven Rage. And this individual says, Eric Mecca Jovi, another victim. Eric Mecca will finally be WC. Now, I'm going to get to that in a second, but I have a ton more comments to read off here. I agree that Craven's time as champion is numbered. I will make this reference again. Craven Rage is the Icarus of WC. Eventually, he will soar too close to the sun. Craven, never hunt what you can't kill. Know this, Shawn Jovi. I'm not doing this not just for championship supremacy. I'm doing it in honor of my biological father, who is still looking high above the heavens, that will still have the best high seat in the house. Amen to that, my friend. But I have a question for you before I get to Eric Mecca. There's a company out there called IMF Wrestling, and Shawn Jovi, they apparently say the Soldier GP is coming for you. Now, another outsider has made an appearance tonight, and this is from IMF Wrestling. And Shawn Jovi, the resident rock star, I'm giving you the opportunity to fire back at the Soldier GP.
Well, I'm going to be honest. I've heard about IMF like literally maybe a day ago.
That's kind of what I've heard. Apparently, the same.
Yeah, it's very. This is
info,
very recent developments for me. I did hear somebody was interested in facing me, and now I know who is interested. So, if we are doing this Forbidden Gate-esque scenario where we are having other wrestling companies come to WC, I'm actually willing to take you on. I've never seen you wrestle. I would like to see your footage. So I'll take a look at your YouTube later, IMF Wrestling, and I'll see what I can do for you.
Well, let me ask you another question. How are you different than Craven Rage here in this particular case? Because Craven's got all these outsiders, and especially a Killer Rabbit that we don't know anything about. So how is your situation different than Craven's right now?
I have less guys wanting a piece of me. That's pretty much the difference here. The first one that want a piece of me is Soldier GP. So this is already tickling my honor here because I've been watching Craven get all the attention over the off season. I'm just sitting over here with my vlogs. but now it seems like things are spicing up just in time for the season, which is super exciting, and I am on board for any kind of cross promotional madness. So I'm hoping WC management and IMF management can get something working because that would be really cool.
Well, I'll tell you this much. I'll even go further as the host of the Sports Report and the owner of Sportzwire Radio, Reverend Tom Bryce. I mean, we'll work with IMF Wrestling. I mean, we're certainly always open for business, and we always love cross promotion. So if you want to talk with us on Sportswire, by all means, the door is definitely open. So listen, stay tuned.
Absolutely.
And follow Shawn Jovi on YouTube at RCW Rules. At RCW Rules is where you can follow him on YouTube. He has 535 subscribers. So make sure you become 536, then tell your friends to be 537 and their friends to be 538 and so on and so on and so on, because he's got one of the top vlogs around. So make sure you follow him or else. Also, another comment here from IMF. The IMF versus WCE war is coming. I mean, is it war? I mean, do you feel like now there's a war coming on here? I mean,
that's a good question. IMF and the WC war, if this is what it's brewing to be, like I said, I got no heat with IMF, and I think a cross-promotional show would be phenomenal. As far as a war, I don't see the need for war, per se.
But what was the song, War Isn't Good for Anybody? Absolutely nothing?
Exactly. It's good for absolutely nothing. Look what there's always a casualty. There's always something bad that happens. Look at WWF
in history where there was a war and nothing good came out of it, right?
So even like wrestling wars. Look at the ones in history.
We spoke about. Listen.
Yup, the Monday Night Wars. Somebody came out ahead, and one person ended up in the dust. Well, one group ended in the dust.
Absolutely.
That's what war can do, and that's not what we're going for. What I love about pro wrestling, backyard wrestling, whatever you want to call it, is the opportunities and the magic that can happen within the business. And I would love to see this cross promotion. Like I said, I'm open to it. I think a lot of people are in for it.
Yeah, I think it's good for everybody. I mean, because I feel at the end of the day, as we are talking with pro wrestling star, the RCW champion of the world, the resident rock star Shawn Jovi of Wrestling Championship Entertainment is going to be in the ring against Billiards, defending that RCW championship here coming up at this weekend's Luck of the Draw. And my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. I mean, I look at it like this. I mean, if there's more companies, more opportunities for guys and gals to get their chances to go work and promote themselves and get more exposure, that's what it should be all about. I think the lessons that we learned from the Monday Night Wars and even ECW, WCW, and the WWF at the time was that fighting each other at the end of the day didn't help business. In the long run, business was down for years, even quote unquote TNA versus WWE. I mean, so I
Oh
think at
yeah,
the
it
end of
was
the
a
day,
monopoly, man. It was a huge
exactly.
monopoly.
I mean, so to me, the way I see it, I want more people to work. I want more opportunities. I want on Sportswire to talk about more companies. You know what I'm saying?
Right, and that's what I like about like say WWE and AEW. That's why I like that there's two of them, and like so many more other federations have popped up around the world, and it's not a
Absolutely.
bad thing. People always like say one thing good about one and one thing bad about the other, you know. But at the end of the day, just enjoy wrestling because you have so many different styles now. You have lucha, you have technicians, you have aerial artists, you know, there's so many different aspects of wrestling that make it amazing.
Absolutely, no question about that. And there's a style for everybody out there. And also, James Marshall says, "Hello, gents." Skulls says Craven might need a diaper change after the rabbit. Also, James with a mark from this individual. Adonis Failure says, "Speak of the devil himself. Craven Rage is here."
He
We
is.
do have him. He is here. I will read
Took
off
him
his
long
comment.
enough.
I will read off his comment. I have a lot of comments here tonight. I mean, I even more comments than last time I was on here with Craven Rage. If I was still a betting man, Killer Rabbit takes home the W. Shawn Jovi is the pulse of WC, and I would damn well say he's the pulse of professional wrestling. That's why he's the resident rock star, for crying out loud. Who doesn't love wrestling guerrilla warfare? Well, listen, Zach De La Rocha of Rage Against the Machine famously sang "Lights Out, Guerrilla Warfare." Listen, but Craven
Oh,
Rage here is here. For anyone who finds
finally.
my name slipping from their lips, just remember victories are only won in the ring. If you want to see what I'm made of and what is going on in my head, tune in to watch me destroy everyone who is coming for me. They will all fall to me. Shawn Jovi, I mean, you're actually not one of the guys in this fire, but what do you say from afar about this?
Well, one thing I can say is, despite the fact I can't challenge for the WC All Out title because I lost in the Three Doors Down match, I will say one thing: Craven, 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 Craven. I'm keeping my name. I'm slipping your name out, Craven. Get mad at me, Craven. I wouldn't mind another shot, Craven, even though I'm not allowed to have one, Craven. Heck, I'll even put this up if you really wanted. I
Oh!
don't think he will, though. He has his own agenda, and he's too busy fighting off little wabbits.
Wait. Time out here, Zach Morris used to famously say, "You've got one of the most beloved prizes in this sport, and you're telling me that Craven Rage doesn't want your title?"
I don't think he has the guts to take it.
Really?
He crossed paths with me already. He may think it would be an easy win, but I think he's a little preoccupied messing with the Easter Bunny.
But you're different when it comes to the RCW title. You know, I would argue when you're defending your RCW championship, you turn into what Craven Rage is. You turn into a different person. You're almost like Bon Jovi on stage at Wembley or at Download or when Bon Jovi was out there in the Soviet Union tour at '89. I mean, you're different when you're defending that RCW championship. You're almost like Bon Jovi in a stadium. You just turn on a whole nother level.
Right, I get the crowd pumped, and I'm ready to go. See a million faces and rock them all, Tom.
I'll tell you what, I would certainly do it. We're going to get wild in the streets, as Bon Jovi used to famously sing when it comes to that. I told you I'm on my game tonight.
Classic New Yorker. I love it. You're
Well,
from that. You're not far from where he's from, I would think.
He was from Sayreville, New Jersey,
Yep,
and I
How
was
far is that
I
from
was
you?
yep. Well, especially now. I was born in Brooklyn, but I'm in Staten Island now, which is a lot closer to Sayreville, New Jersey. And I was very, very familiar with Mr. Bon Jovi. He spent most of his time in, which was the old record plant, where, of course, I believe it was his brother who was also a musician, Tony Bon Jovi. But that's here nor there. Let's enter the War Pigs from Black Sabbath. James Marshall says shoulders should be somewhat healed after Crenton's attack. I'll keep the loyal fans posted. I will come to. I have so much to talk about tonight. I am trying to get through everything here, but IMF Wrestling here certainly comes back to the line here and says the other outsiders for Craven Rage don't mean nothing now. We have a guy who will humble Craven in defeat. His name is Omen Black. I mean, so what do you make of this then? Now, the IMF is basically saying that Craven Rage and he's nothing. Skulls is nothing. C2K is nothing. Stephen Havoc is nothing. And they've got the guy to finally end Craven. I mean, you buy it?
I mean, I want to look up Omen Black now to see how humbling he will humble Craven if he so can, you know. I think it's going to be interesting, and especially with hearing all these names from IMF and, like I said, Skulls and everyone else. It's crazy, and I invite them to come to us if the cards are played right and the stars align. I would love it.
You never know. Listen, anything can happen out there. And IMF says that they would love to do business together. And of course, here to that. And if you can, IMF, give out your social media handles because I'll go and follow you on whether it's Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. And so everybody else here on Sportswire Radio can do the same as well. But, before I do that as well and some other things, I had to ask you about Eric Mecca. Eric Mecca's name has been thrown out there a lot, Shawn Jovi. You obviously know the Mecca brothers, and Craven Rage kept referring to Eric Mecca especially, and he thought he was facing Eric Mecca, and this Killer Rabbit comes involved, and Eric Mecca this, Eric Mecca that these past several weeks on Sportswire, and I mean, what do you make of the Meccas? Do the Meccas work here? Are they a part of WCE? I mean, the last brother combo we saw in WCE basically couldn't cut the mustard here. They basically ran for the hills because they couldn't compete with you. They couldn't compete with Crenson. Couldn't compete with Marshall. Couldn't even compete with Craven Rage. And I mean, the Meccas certainly, from afar, seem to be rather boastful. They've certainly made quite a bit of statements, but I mean, what do you make of Eric Mecca here, possibly in WCE and his brother as well?
I think one thing I really want to address and stress about the Eric Mecca situation is, Eric, what took you so long?
Oh,
why did it take you so long to have interest in WCE? You could have been with us the whole time. Easily. You are one talented individual, Eric Mecca, and I don't know where you're hiding and if you're part of WCE or how any of that works. But Eric, make no mistake. I faced you once in the past. Many people may not know this, but Eric Mecca and I were actually in a ring together in 2010.
Oh, really? Okay, let's talk about
it was at some school in Spencer, Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a four-way match between Tim Mecca, Eric Mecca, one of my old adversaries from RCW, Rex Renegade, and myself. So I have had in-ring experience against the Meccas before. So I have an idea what I'm up against, especially considering that time frame is about the end of the time we've seen the Meccas on the wrestling scene, as far as I know. I know that was towards the end of the Mecca run. So I think, Mecca, if you sign up for WCE, just know I would love to face you myself.
Well, can I ask a follow-up question to that? And I don't mean to say it, but I'll ask it anyway. And Nicholas Crenson wants to remind me that Eric is Tim's nephew. I knew that, but I thought it'd sound better when we kind of referenced the other brother combo that was trying to come into WC, and they basically couldn't cut the mustard. I just thought it'd be a more funnier combination, kind of to strengthen the fact of outsiders coming here. But, I mean, is it fair to say, based off what you said in the time since they last were in the ring, I don't know. the Meccas might be past their prime and can't hang with some of the big boys here in WC? Is that a fair statement to make?
It could be, but
It could be.
let me just say the same thing could have applied to me when I came back to wrestling a couple years ago when WC started. I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know if I could even hang anymore, you know? Every wrestler that returns from injury or a hiatus always might have that down the back of their mind. But you know, once you get between those ropes and get in that squared circle, you know what, you'll be fired up and you won't miss a beat. And I'm sure they're going to be the same way. If they're as legendary as they say they are, they'll be ready.
All right. Well, that's certainly a clue. And the IMF says follow the IMF on Instagram and YouTube. I just did that. You can do it at IMF Wrestling 875 on YouTube, IMF underscore wrestling on Instagram as well. So please support the companies as we are here on Sportswire Radio with the resident rock star Shawn Jovi, who's getting ready to return to the ring here. His opening day here season arrives once again for our friends over at Wrestling Championship Entertainment. You can follow Shawn Jovi on YouTube at RCW Rules. You can also follow Wrestling Championship Entertainment at WCE Heat on Facebook. Also on YouTube, WCEHeat.com for information on shows, prior shows, where you can watch, where you can follow, support, and like. And again, my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. I am the man behind Sportswire Radio. And if you like what you hear from us, please give us a like and follow on Facebook at Sportswire Radio, YouTube at Sportswire Radio, and 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You can watch all and listen to our great content on sportnarium.com/Perry. And I'll be back tomorrow with basketball coverage, professional basketball coverage with the Tri-State Admirals. We'll get a who's who of players. And Sunday night, I'll be back live around 8:30 p.m. Eastern time with Eric Kotovsky. Interesting story. Has a background, played basketball in Israel. Now is going to play college basketball, JUCO, in the state of Minnesota. Learned English by playing and watching basketball, and has got a story here. We've had some friends of Sportswire Radio who he knows very, very well. So Eric Kotovsky will be with us here live Sunday night on all of our Sportswire Radio platforms. So I'm looking forward to speaking with Eric Kotovsky, and you can follow.
Seems like a very, very, I don't know what the word is. Very admirable. I admire the fact that he could do things like that, you know?
Yes, he literally learned English 3 years ago after speaking with them, and here he is now, and he speaks fluent English. He's also playing for Anoka Ramsey College in the state of Minnesota, and he's certainly a young guy that's going to be, I think, a name a lot of people are going to hear from. You can follow him at arik.kotovsky on Instagram. So make sure you follow him on Instagram and as well on Twitter. But in the meantime, we are here, definitely not living on a prayer, but we are definitely wild in the streets, and we are keeping the faith with the resident rock star himself, Shawn Jovi. And everybody, I am sure, has a big, big crush on him, to say the least, when it comes to what he's going to do in the ring. And Skull says, Battleborn from Five Finger Death Punch. Okay, very well. And but let's talk about Adonis Velios. Let's talk about this champion versus champion match here. Obviously, we're going to see what happens with you in billiards, but this is a match that I think a lot of people kind of want to see, and a lot of people have been wanting to see for a long time here in WC, when you get two world champions from two different companies match up. And I think about the time, Shawn Jovi, going back to the Attitude Era, the only time we ever had this in history, we had a WCW wrestler wrestle a WWF wrestler for an ECW championship. That was, of course, Mike Awesome and Taz. That was in the ECW arena. That was for Mike Awesome's ECW championship. He had went to WCW. He was defending the championship against Taz, a WWF wrestler. And we almost kind of have the same thing here going on in a WCE ring. We have an RCW champion in yourself and an AIW champion in the Drip King, Adonis Velios. So you have to talk about how I think monumental of a moment this is, not only for WCE, but I think for all of professional wrestling, frankly, coming up here later this month.
I 110% agree, Tom. It's a champion versus champion affair. There's going to be two champion versus champion matches, to my knowledge. So I know we're going to have the RCW versus AIW. Don't quote me on this, but I think there is a all-out champion versus interstate.
Yes, that we spoke about that 2 nights ago on the air. We were going to
Okay.
have the winner of the interstate title face off with Craven Rage for the All Out Championship. Yes, correct.
Yep. Or Killer Rabbit. Hopefully, Killer Rabbit. I'm choosing. I'm going for
Well,
Killer
everybody
Rabbit.
seems to be
I
favoring
love.
Killer Rabbit. We'll see.
I love big furry gimmicks. But yeah. And as far as Adonis Felios goes, I faced him last year and I defeated him. But he has an AIW title from another backyard fed that is based out in Racine, Wisconsin. And I don't know much about AIW, but I know Adonis Felios is the world champion of it, and I will not take him lightly.
Okay, I mean, so let's talk about this in a way because, as I referred to a little while ago, that essentially you're different when you're defending the RCW championship. And do you feel like, in a lot of ways, not only are you going to give your A game going out there in the ring, but maybe we're going to see a different Drip King coming out there because Adonis is going to have also a little bit more incentive here because he's going to be representing his company out there. So, kind of talk about maybe how, in a way, I think both of you guys are going to be on your A games coming out here.
Oh yeah, I would hope so. If Adonis Felios is a true champion, he would want to support his company and fight with everything he's got. Just like me, I am the heart and soul of what RCW used to be. I'm going to fight and support this as much as I can with everything I got. So yeah, it is for brand supremacy. It is for bragging rights per se. It's a lot of things on the line. And it may not, and like I said, there may not be a title for title picture, but it is for brand supremacy.
All right, let me ask you a follow-up question before I go back into the IMF, but let me ask you in a different take. Let's say the winner of this match, and obviously we know it's not going to be for either of your titles, but do you feel like in WCE, let's say you win this match hypothetically, does this put you back, let's say, to where you have to be entered back into the discussion, let's say for Craven or Killer Rabbit's championship, let's go along with that, or even at the very least the interstate title, whoever walks away with that, which I'm going to get your thoughts on in a second. So, I mean, give me your thoughts on some of that.
Well, as far as the interstate championship picture goes, that's the one I'm more interested in because I'm not allowed to challenge for the all-out title after losing to Craven, as mentioned before.
Yep.
So my eye has been on the interstate. I have a rain check for an interstate title match any point this year to make up for when I had the COVID in October.
Yep. I remember. And that outsider took that interstate title and then wound up decided he took his ball and went home and couldn't play with the big boys here anymore.
It's a shame. It could have been me, but now we're in this little dilemma where the title's vacant and someone's going to have to keep it warm for me.
Okay, well, you know what? Let's go with that because you basically kind of stole my thunder. So everybody's been watching the WCE socials, especially on YouTube at WCE Heat, where you can go subscribe and find out what happened here. And kind of this tug of war, you might want to say, between the new Messiah, Nicholas Crenson, Darkfire, your best friend, your brother, and Catalyst. And it's sort of almost, I guess you might want to say, divided into rather this whole where Nicholas Crenson basically one-ups Darkfire, and then later on, which we saw a few hours ago on the WC YouTube page, where Catalyst, he did a number on it, and Catalyst right now is dealing with a shoulder injury, and who knows what happens there. I mean, is it Nicholas Crenson that's the favorite now because of what he's done kind of in his underhanded tactics once again to Darkfire and certainly Catalyst now with his injury? Who do you think walks away with this? I mean, I know who you might want to face, but who do you think walks away with this, especially after this tug of war where it seems like Crenson got under the skin of both Fire and Catalyst, literally?
Oh, yeah, and I think that's what's going to cost him dearly. You just made two strong competitors in WCE angry at you for doing wrongdoings and underhanded dirty tricks to get ahead. Crenson, do you really think you just did a great thing there? You think it was a great idea? I don't think it was a great idea, Crenson. And I know Darkfire and I know Catalyst. They're going to be mad. They're going to be furious. and they're going to be coming at you with everything they got. Heck, I wouldn't be surprised if they knocked you out right away because they're going to gang up on you. I would not be surprised.
All right, fair point, but in a way, to play devil's advocate, do you think that this is actually the strategy of the new Messiah, Nicholas Crenson, where he actually wants to have, let's say, Fire and Catalyst team up? But what winds up happening is that Fire and Catalyst basically almost have to restrain themselves from each other and beating up Crenson, and then they wind up attacking each other, and then Crenson eliminates both of them and wins his first championship in 17 years. You think that's the plan?
I think that is the plan. He's desperate. He knows after so many years of not winning a championship that he has to slither his way around with this whole vector unit thing he's doing and trying to get the upper hand on all of his opponents before the show, weakening them, softening them up. It's I don't agree with it, but like the thing is, before all the off-season stuff happened, right? You'll see even in like the vlogs at the end of Blaze of Glory Day 1, it was me, Nicholas Crenson, and Darkfire in the ring celebrating my 16th backyard wrestling anniversary, right?
Mm-hmm.
You remember that?
Yes, I do. I most certainly do.
Yeah, so and then all of a sudden after that interstate title match, Crenson lost at Blaze of Glory Day 2, everything seemed to went south. I left him and Darkfire in the ring, and he just went crazy on him.
All of a sudden, nobody saw this coming, and it was a new side of Nicholas Crenson, and Nicholas Crenson gave Darkfire a beating and said things about him that, a lot of people felt was totally out of line.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And the fact I missed Fighter Fright didn't really help the scenario.
No.
Me not really being involved all winter with their issues because I want them to resolve it like men. And that's kind of why I stayed out of it. Like I could have easily interjected myself and in the story of the vlogs. In my vlog, I could have been there to help break it up. I could have. But I'm trying to let them handle their business as individuals because that's what we do in this business.
Absolutely. No. Listen, we certainly want to do that here. And I do have some comments, so let me get to them. Skull says it was the final straw, maybe. Is it the final straw for Nicholas Crenson? I don't particularly know. The IMF wants us to follow our friends at Dark Cryptic Wrestling in Ohio. You can do that on YouTube at Dark Cryptic Wrestling. But I have to interrupt the regularly scheduled programming of Nicholas Crenson Talk, Shawn Jovi, because your opponent this weekend, Billiards, has actually joined us here. And Billiards is basically addressing you after what you said earlier tonight about him. And he says, Jovi, I will win the RCW title because yes, no, yes, you'll underestimate me. So he claims here that you're taking him lightly. I mean, do you want to respond to Billiards? Because now Billiards has come out of nowhere, out of left field on Sportswire, and is saying that you're underestimating him.
And maybe you're right. I mean, I didn't even know he knew how to make a Facebook, so this is kind of new to me too. So I mean, Billiards. I will be honest. Maybe I am underestimating you. I've never seen you wrestle. The only thing I've seen is you falling asleep to remote controls in the Galactic match against Mark Packer and Skee Ball. Like, that's not wrestling, my dude. I want to show you what wrestling is at Luck of the Draw Billiards. All right? So, and I want you to make this a hard-earned lesson. Because Billiards, when this is done, I will have you walk back to the Intergalactic Division with your head down in defeat. I don't like saying that, and I don't like as a rock star, resident rock star who talks to the public. I don't like to talk down to people, but I know Billiards because I created him through the Intergalactic Division, so I know what he's capable of already, and unfortunately, it's not much.
Ooh. Well, I guess in this way, some might say you might be at a crossroads, or others might be saying in a nice way, this is your way of saying, have a nice day
Mhm.
to Mr. Billiards. But certainly, you're going to try to finish what you might have created here, as some may particularly say, toward billiards. And also, Nicholas Crenson is addressing you. Nicholas Crenson is back with us, and he has
Oh,
something to
dear.
say towards you. He says, Jovi, you are smart to stay out of my business. Are you smart to stay out of business? But is it business, though, that still involves you? Because practically your best friend, your brother Darkfire. I mean, Crenton. I mean, he's made an example of him these last several months, and even on the second to last WCE video that we saw on. I mean, so are you smart to stay out of his business, or what do you want to say toward Nicholas Crenton?
Honestly, throughout the whole off season, it's been hard for me not to intervene, especially with some of the attacks those guys have done on each other. I've been trying to play neutral the whole time. I'm a fan of Crenson. I'm a fan of Darkfire, right?
Yeah, all
But
right,
but the
fair
fact
enough.
of the matter is,
Mhm.
at the end of the day, business is business. And honestly, Crenson, with this whole vector thing you're planning and the numbers game, I'll be watching your match carefully. And you know what's going to happen if you get Zero and Dirty Dead Skin involved. You get your little compadres involved, I might have to step in. So I suggest not letting me enter your business, Mr. Crenson. Don't make me enter it. I love you as a brother. I love Darkfire as a brother. But if I have to get between you two, I will.
This has got to be painful for you, though,
Oh,
because
it's
you
very
have a
painful.
relationship with both of them. I mean, how are you doing this? I mean, this has got to be eating you up alive right now, that your two best friends, Nicholas Crenson and Darkfire, are fighting the way they've been fighting with each other. And on top of this, Nicholas Crenson has this vector that very well some could finally tip the scale in his favor to break one of the longest championship droughts in all of sports.
Yeah, and like I said, he's desperate. But I don't think desperation is an excuse to hire some lackeys to take care of business and thinking about taking on Darkfire. Like I said,
Are
you're
you
going to get
saying though? Are
involved.
you saying though that Zero Deus and Deadskin are lackeys? Did you just say that?
I mean, they just got hired on, so I would hope so. I would think of them as that they have to work their way up the ladder.
Ah,
Yeah,
so they
work their way
haven't
up the,
paid their dues. They haven't paid their dues in this business then.
they haven't paid the dues or the dues to the resident rock star.
That's a good one. I have a bunch of comments here. People really seem to be tuned in tonight, and I really appreciate it. And this person says here, wins win what day? From Sloth Fan 19. Do you know a Sloth Fan 19?
No, but I appreciate the fact they're a fan of sloths.
Okay, well, if you're referring to Wrestling Championship Entertainment, that'll be this coming weekend for Luck of the Draw. And stay tuned to WCE socials for when that'll actually appear so we can watch, review, comment, like, share, and talk about it. So that would be my advice to you.
Yeah,
Adonis Felia says, neither should I. Okay. We have here more from Wins. Well, Sloth Fan says, Wins WCE first show. Oh, you mean opening week here coming up. That'll be April the 15th. That'll be coming up here. And you stay tuned again.
yeah, should be about. I'm gonna say probably about a week after the show. Recording
Okay.
is about when we put them up.
Okay.
So I would be looking for it probably about a week from this weekend. So maybe Friday, Saturday next week.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough. Here, I've got a lot more comments, so we're going to try to get to everybody here. IMF comes back in here from Omen Black, and Omen Black is here with us now. Boy, everybody is tuned in tonight. I'll tell you what, I mean, things are getting hot on sports. I tell you what, the last like 3 or 4 shows I've done, and I just think the temperature's really been going up here, just kind of as the weather is finally. I heard my name was brought up from the higher-ups. Craven, your days are numbered. There are more guys in the WC and AIW that need to be sacrificed. Hello, Tyler Ark, and hello, Adonis. You know, I want to ask you a question, Shawn Jovi, and tell me your thoughts on this, because I heard the word sacrificed. And if you caught toward the end of the show that we had on Sportswire Radio with Killer Rabbit, Killer Rabbit talked about there was going to be more people to be sacrificed in addition to Craven Rage. And I'm going to ask you this. I don't know anything about what I'm about to ask, but I'm going to ask it to you anyway. Do you think what Omen Black is saying in any way possible is tied to what Killer Rabbit is doing, or why Killer Rabbit is here in the WCE?
I wouldn't know per se if there was a connection. I've been hearing. I mean, there's a lot of sacrifices and soul hunting going on around here.
Yeah, I know.
It's even getting the resident rock star a little spooked, to be honest. But
And I'm getting spooked, and I actually live across the street from a cemetery, so I'm used to dead people. I live with the dead people. The running joke the last 4.5 years on Sportswire Radio is basically my only friends are dead people. So at this point, if I'm getting spooked out and I live near the dead people, what does that tell you here on Sportswire? So we're seeing things here that I don't know if I've ever seen before.
Wrestling is fun.
Wrestling is an interesting business. I'll just tell you that much here.
Truly is.
Adonis Fario says, Shawn Jovi, don't think you're going into it alone. Okay, I don't know what that means, but
neither.
I guess it's the witching hour, right? They always say the witching hours are between midnight and 3 a.m. So we're in the East Coast right now. We just hit midnight. So the Soldier GP wants to challenge you, Jovi. Now, it seems like Owen Black wants Craven, and now Soldier GP wants you, Jovi. That's what I learned tonight.
Yeah, after the broadcast, I'm actually going to look up Soldier GP so I can see what I should be getting myself or should not be getting myself into.
Well,
but as far as challenges, I'm always open to new challengers. So I can see your challenge being accepted.
No, you're taking a different tone than Craven. I'll tell you, Craven is taking a far different path than you have. So, I mean, you're taking maybe the more least resistant path when it comes to these challenges.
I want the best opponent possible. Well, for what could be a forbidden gate of sorts.
Well, I think we're going to be covering it on Sportswire over the next few weeks. I think we're going to be the home of it. I think that we're going to be having IMF talent. And we're going to talk about WC because I have a feeling that the door is coming and it's going to be wide open on Sportswire over the next few weeks. Stay tuned here because I think that's the plan. If you need a hand, make that call. Nicholas Crenson says, be careful, Jovi, or Vector will take all the belts that represent your precious flock. Nicholas Crenson here, a man who hasn't won a championship in 17 years, who has a streak that rivals the likes previously of the 1918 Boston Red Sox, the Chicago Cubs, the Chicago White Sox of 1919, is all of a sudden talking about multiple championship belts. Boy, some people are feeling it tonight. That's what I will say. Skulls ain't coming empty-handed. He's bringing his new EAW belt. Shawn Jovi, another individual, is bringing his championship.
I say, why don't we just have at this point, we might as well just everyone pitch a championship and have a battle royal. Winner takes all the belts. This is how chaotic it's going.
You know what? I gotta tell you. I mean, this is so entertaining because it seems like everybody talked about Kenny Omega a couple years ago having all the belts in wrestling, but I think everybody now, what I've learned, has a championship, and everybody on Sportswire now wants to defend it. And this is kind of the unofficial kickoff of Championship Week because starting Friday, we actually have, I think, every day starting from Friday on, a world champion of some sort. I think it's Grayson Riley in CCW. We then have coming up on Monday, I think it's what's his face? We have Big Cheese Logan for the CWE Championship. Tuesdays RPD. Wednesday it's the Phantom of the Outlaws for the tag titles and WAS. We have Hammerhead Smith. Thursday is going for the Breakout Championship. Then we have Young Horace, who's for the Firestar Openweight Championship. So it's literally a who's who of people here that won a championship. This is the unofficial kickoff of Championship Week here on Sportswire. Casey Jack Bradley says, Jovi, when you're in the ring, your opponent's a dose of bad medicine, which will be a shot to the heart. If you can accomplish that, you'll be halfway there. I have a comment for Craven Rage. I know that somebody wants me to read it. I actually have it. I'm just reading everybody else first so I get to Craven. So we'll get to the drum roll in a second. I promise you that. Bon Jovi has a hit called You Give Love a Bad Name. In the case of WC, you give wrestling a bad name. Well, I don't know what
that used to be my theme.
Well, I gotta be honest. I was kind of sick of that song because here in New York, there's a station called Q104, and I felt like literally every hour they played that song. So it was always that was the one song I think I was sick of from "Slippery When Wet." Omen Black says, "I will skin that rabbit." But let me get to Craven Rage here because Craven Rage apparently now wants to address Omen Black personally. So we interrupt our regularly scheduled comments here with Craven Rage. Craven Rage says, Omen Black, my days have always been numbered. That has never stopped me for stacking and smashing all my opponents. This will be your story to take home if you step into my yard. Shawn Jovi from afar, does that sound like that Craven Rage is addressing Omen Black from the IMF, another outsider, to come into the WCE ring? What do you make of that?
I think Craven needs to slow down. Otherwise, it's just gonna be him just trying to. I think he's stacking the deck against him a little too hard. Is more or less what I'm thinking.
And Craven Rage also addresses you, Shawn Jovi. He actually has you in his one of two comments. He says, "You have forgotten that I made you and Darkfire fall in season 1. And he could take that title if he wanted. And at some point, he will have held all the championships." So, I mean, what do you say to apparently Craven Rage now is addressing you in the RCW championship? I mean, what do you make of this, the resident rock star, Shawn Jovi?
Craven, you and I are probably going to be on a similar path to crossing in one day. I may be RCW champion. You may be all out champion. My goal is to become interstate champion. Your goal is to become interstate champion. Heck, if you win the interstate title, you'll be the Triple Crown champion of WCE, right? Because, I mean, he's held the RCW title before in the beginning roots of WCE. Before we had a WCE championship of our own, we were using the RCW title, and that's how Craven won it. And so if he gets the interstate, he gets the Triple Crown status, the first Triple Crown champion in WCE. But I also have a rain check, as we say, for the interstate. And the day comes when Craven loses his all-out title, I'll be maybe looking to get that. Because then I could be the Triple Crown champion. And I think what's going to happen is it's going to be a race between me and him to see who will be the Triple Crown champion.
What I've learned.
Oh, sorry. And I'm hoping at the end of this, when we cross paths again, maybe it will be for the chance to be the first Triple Crown champion.
What I've learned tonight on Sportswire Radio is to expect the unexpected. Because we have champions challenging other champions, wrestlers that don't work, and other companies challenging wrestlers and other companies. We have objects challenging one another. We have pretty much everybody calling out one another. And it seems like all hell's breaking loose, to quote another band called Kiss that may finally, we think, may break it up and call it a day. Although, who really knows there? But that's for a different topic, different time. But it certainly sounds like here the unexpected you will expect coming up in WCE's season here as it gets ready to start this Saturday. It's called Luck of the Draw here. But Eric Mecca here has come on before we get to closing thoughts here with you, the resident rock star Shawn Jovi. And Eric Mecca has tuned in tonight. And he says, "Trust me, Mr. Rockstar," with exclamation points. "I'll be ready anytime to take the title off your hands. No problem." Emojis, Mecca Hood. I mean, Shawn Jovi, what do you say to that?
Eric Mecca, like I said earlier, what took you so long? You just now chimed in. We're an hour into this broadcast. You're just now chiming in. Come on, man. You know I'm going to be the champion for a long time. And for you to think you can take this off me or be ready for me even, come on, man. I haven't seen you since 2010. I've come a long way since then.
So you saying that really? Are you saying Eric Mecca's really the one that he can't hang with you, and that's why he just decided to show up?
I mean, I'm glad he's here. I always wanted to go Mecca hunting.
Ooh. Some might be rabbit hunting, others might be mecha hunting. And that could
Depends
very
on
well
the
be the
season
case.
you're looking for.
I'll tell you what,
Gun
could be.
season. The season of hunting is about to begin.
It very well could be here. And Skulls has an idea. It says time for a rumble. Well, we've got this many people here that might want to come into WC. I mean, that's for management to decide. That's up to Mark Packer. That's Mark Packer's call. I'm not going to make that call. That's up to Mark Packer for that.
I'm down for Battle Royale with cheese.
Well, I'll tell you what.
That's what I'd call it. Battle Royale with cheese.
Well, you know what? Somebody out there might want to do that. I'm sure if Mr. Packer and maybe even the owner of the company might be listening, that might be up for them to determine. Maybe Darkfire will have an accident at Luck of the Draw. Do you mean accident in winning the interstate championship? Is that what you may say, Nicholas Crenson, and the championship drought continues?
I mean, yeah, he could accidentally pin you.
That's very well.
That would be such a tragic accident.
And Eric Mecca says, name the place jobber, and I'll be there. Certainly interesting words. But I have a heck of a lot more comments because people are just like, they're fired up tonight. I mean, I'll keep going. Omen Black here continues to address Craven Rage. Craven, you've never faced anyone like Omen Black. That little belt of yours doesn't mean anything to me. If I wanted it to be in my possession already, he would have it. What I'm coming for, wait a minute, is that mask. Show the WCE you're just a man. You know what? I'm going to go out there and do something different, Shawn Jovi. I'm actually going to go on a limb here because I'm noticing something tonight. I'm noticing that Omen Black has it out for Craven Rage, but it's a little different, I even think, than Killer Rabbit, Skulls, C2K, Stephen Havoc. That Omen Black has actually said something that nobody thought that would take away from Craven Rage, and that's that mask. So I'm going to go a little further here tonight on Sportswire Radio. I don't know when that time will come. I'll let IMF, I'll let the WCE, I'll let Omen Black and Craven Rage figure this out. On Sportswire Radio, I'll have both on, Omen Black and Craven Rage, and we can have a chat. We can talk about who's the better wrestler, who's the better company, who's the person that's really behind the mask. Whatever you want to do out there, if the management from both camps wants it, if both wrestlers want to come on to Sportswire Radio, we'll get an unbiased observer, an independent arbiter like yours truly, and we'll let both sides have it out. That's my little spoiler alert, and that's my proposal to both camps. So maybe, just maybe, both the WCE, IMF, Craven Rage, and Omen Black might be interested. We'll certainly have to find out. Stay tuned, to say the least. Cheese Rumble from Skulls, mask versus mask here. Well, did Omen Black put up his mask, Shawn Jovi? That's what I want to know.
Did he have a mask?
I don't know. I don't know anything about it. I mean, I'll find out. I'll ask the question. I'll ask it. If we want to have both sides on, we'll do it in the next couple of weeks, I'm sure. Jovi, come hunt for Mr. Heel Life 24/7. I'll be waiting. So it sounds like you have a date with somebody coming up here after you get through with Billiards and Adonis Felios. Eric Mecca says, trust me, Miss Rockstar, the Meccas will have something in store for you to knock you down some levels for our match. Boy, the talk is definitely heating up on Sportswire, just like the weather is. Jovi, in the end, I will leave you and all of WCE shocked. And Omen Black has a lot to say. You don't put fear in my eyes, Craven. I don't wear a mask. Ooh.
Well, then what do you have to put on the line? If you want his mask, you got to put some on, man.
Well, we'll find out. I'll tell you that much.
Right.
We'll find out. I'll just say that. I mean, all I could really other say than that is we'll find out. I mean, we'll have to ask both camps and see what they want to come up with, and we'll negotiate. We'll make those terms. We'll give everybody a fair stake here. But, before we get to closing thoughts here, Shawn Jovi, I want to give you the opportunity for final words for first Billiards, because Billiards is here with us, and also the Drip King, Adonis Felios, who you're going to see later this month. So I want to give you the opportunity to give final words first to Billiards and then to the Drip King, Adonis Felios.
First off, the Billiards. Like I said, I I'll admit it. I'm underestimating you. But can you blame me? I want you to prove me wrong. I wouldn't say prove me wrong and take this off me. There's no way in hell that's happening. But I would like you to wow me, Billiards. Show me you're more than just an intergalactic being. Show me you are what you think you are. And that is someone who has the heart of a champion. Show me that heart, Billiards. And when you do, I'll be ready to take you down. I will rip that heart right out of you, Billiards. I will rip that heart and end it for you. End your dreams of being RCW champion so I can go on to face bigger and better things like Eric Mecca, like possibly this other guy. I can't. Pretty much everybody. Oh, the Soldier GP. I had to scroll up. I'm sorry. I feel
That's
terrible.
okay. That's okay. I know it was a lot of people tonight. It's like probably the most comments
Oh my god,
I've ever had tonight.
It's the most who's who thing. It's just too many people.
Yeah, it's a lot of people
It's
tonight. I gotta be
crazy.
honest. For a
It's crazy.
Tuesday
The
night,
popularity is
I
awesome.
listen. It's all no, listen. People like this element. We have a lot of new fans out there, a lot of new subscribers, and
Oh yeah, I'm loving it.
people are tuned in. Listen, at this point, I'll be on the radio. I think every night for the next 2 weeks. This is the
Right, I
reason
gained
why.
like 11 subscribers on YouTube in like the last few days. It's getting crazy already.
Well, you know what? That's why I want everybody to go to RCW Rules on YouTube to give you another sub. So make sure you go out and subscribe to Shawn Jovi, the resident rock star. And Nicholas Crenson says that's the most I've ever heard Billiards talk. He must be planning something big. Well, what does Nicholas Crenson know? What does Nicholas Crenson want to share about this?
I don't know.
Yeah.
But I did want to get my thoughts on Adonis Filios because you did ask
Right,
me about
absolutely. And I have
that.
more
Yeah, I don't
comments.
want to get too sidetracked on you.
Yeah, because I have
But
more comments to
Adonis-
get to. So go ahead.
Yeah, I don't want to underestimate Adonis either. Adonis, you are a champion, EIW champion, and I respect that. We are both well-respected competitors, and I just want to say, at Dead or Alive, you'll be the one dead, I'll be the one alive. But just in case that doesn't happen, let's at least have the respect to say, let the best man win. Let the best champion win.
All right, fair enough here. I do have to break before I get to Adonis Felios because we have breaking news from Omen Black. Omen Black says apparently what he's putting on the line is his career. So are we getting a career versus mask match if both the IMF and the WCE and Omen Black and Craven Rage have their way? I mean,
I don't know. That's a pretty bold thing to put on the line, my dude.
well, you know what? I mean, I'm speechless because
Yeah, me too.
Omen Black even says, just like Death Craven, I'm inevitable.
I'm fine words.
Fighting words. It might be more like death words. I mean,
Deadly words. Deadly words.
not the kind of music that you would have gotten Slippery When Wet, Keep the Faith, or New Jersey. I'll say that much. More like
this is a death metal single. Definitely.
this is more like you might want to get on Kill 'Em All, Master of Puppets, and Justice for All, and maybe even 72 Seasons coming up later this weekend from the brand new Metallica album. So we'll have to see. Different genres slightly, but. Eric Mecca says it's going to be a great weekend for me. The nut job rabbit is going to take out Craven, and the jabroni rockstar will drop his title as well. It's going to be a mighty fine weekend for me, Mr. Tom. And he gives a popcorn and I think soda emojis, which reminds me, I was just at the movies. Speaking of death, I actually saw John Wick 4, so I don't want to spoil that for anybody, but I will say there was a lot of death in that movie. There was a lot of death, but hey, that's, certainly here nor there. The Soldier GP says all you have to do is step through that gate, and I'll make sure you never forget my name ever again. Adonis Felios would like to address what you've had to say about him. Either me or yourself, Shawn Jovi wins. I would be honored to stand side by side inside that ring and have that magical moment with each other for the love of this sport and have a few words to say in that very ring.
All right. I'll see you out there, Adonis.
I'll tell you what. Skull says it's like a death match death matching the making when it comes to Craven and Omen Black. Well, I'll tell you what, that's a good one here from Skulls. Can't wait for the show. And I'll tell you what, before we get to closing thoughts, this is why I can't wait for Luck of the Draw coming up here this weekend. If you have a chance to go out there and buy a ticket, go out there and do so. It'll be this weekend. And forget about WrestleMania 39. Forget about AEW All Out later this summer. Forget about SummerSlam. Forget about the next New Japan show. Forget about any other company. This is why WCE Wrestling Championship Entertainment is one of the premier companies around. This is why we have the only rock star, the resident rock star of not just WCE, RCW, Sportswire, but all of professional wrestling, and the legendary Shawn Jovi, who is certainly a lot more energetic these days, a lot more loud, a lot more adventurous and fiery than Mr. John Bon Jovi is these days. And that's why we cannot wait for this show. I'm so excited to watch it, so excited to talk about it, and maybe even some IMF versus WCE talk between an Omen Black and a Craven Rage, and who knows, Soldier GP, anybody else. Stay tuned. Nicholas Crenton says, see you soon, Joby. Well, Nicholas Crenton, you got to win first. You got to win and break your long championship drought, because you got the longest championship drought coming up here in maybe all of professional sports of note. So stay tuned in that, and all great stuff. But Shawn Jovi, I know you got to get ready for more press, more interviews, more coverage, more promotion, work in the studio, more vlogs. Who knows what else? You're a busy, busy man. Obviously, more hair since you last joined us. So obviously, the hair looks better. The facial hair looks better. You're in the best shape of your life, the best shape of your career. Certainly, you've got way more hair than Bon Jovi does. You might even have more hair at this point than David Bryan. Obviously, the keyboardist from Bon Jovi. But I want to give you the opportunity to say anything else. Anything else you want to promote, share, say, and some final thoughts. And I really, really was excited to have you tonight. And certainly, this might have been
a lot of fun.
This might have been one of the biggest ones we've had. I thought last Sunday was big on Sportswire with WC, but this might have actually topped it. But
this was wild. This was a wild.
This was wild in the streets, man. This was wild in the streets.
One wild night, like it was one wild night.
I did like that one, by the way. And what wild night? I believe they actually years ago
they had a concert in Giant Stadium called One.
Yes, and VH1 played it. VH1 played it.
Yeah, I don't remember where I saw it. Maybe Best Buy years ago on DVD, and I think I bought it. Okay. I know I have the It's My Life tour somewhere.
Well, I did appreciate the fact that the last video we saw between Catalyst and Crenton, I actually saw the Bon Jovi poster that was there in somebody's apartment.
I bought that at Walmart years ago. I'm surprised that thing still stands on that wall.
All right. Well, certainly we'll do that. I've got a ton of comments, but I'm going to give you the floor first, and anything else you want to plug, share, say, and be my guest.
Thank you again, Tom, of course, for having me I almost said vlog, on your show. If you guys like what you've seen tonight and want to explore more into the Shawn Jovi verse, so to say, I have a YouTube channel. It's at RCW Rules. That's RCWRULZ, as in zebra. And I do my weekly vlogs. I do popcasts, which are like me eating popcorn and simulating WWE 2K. Just kind of a kicks and giggles idea I've been working on. I'm starting to do short clips and stuff. I've been noticing that's been helping my account tremendously over the last few days since I started doing those. So the channel is going to be expanding. It's going to be growing. Hopefully they're out this year. I'm hoping to at least break the 600, maybe 650, 700 subscriber mark, depending on how it goes. So I'm hoping that. Also follow WCE, obviously. It's where it's at right now. WCE Heat for YouTube, Facebook, any social media, WCE.com. We're here and we're ready to make a revolution and reignite back our wrestling the way it should have been done years ago. I'm ready. I'm sure you're ready. I think everyone's ready here on Sportswire Radio, right?
Absolutely.
Kick off a season of WC and do it the way it's meant to go.
Absolutely. You know what? And I want to thank everybody that continues to like and follow us on Sportswire. Obviously, a lot of also new subscribers for us on Facebook and YouTube. I think we gained like 3 or 4 subscribers just in the last day, and a lot of
Right.
great stuff that we're doing. So I appreciate all the support, and definitely want everybody to follow Wrestling Championship Entertainment one more time. WCE Heat on YouTube, Facebook, also WCEHeat.com, and get ready for the luck of the draw because I have a feeling who knows what the luck is going to be for all of the great compartments of that, including Shawn Jovi, the resident rock star, will be defending that RCW championship against Billiards. Plus, we'll see him in the ring later this month against Adonis Felios. Some more comments before we say goodbye. Finally, legendary. I guess I'm going to be your Randy Orton. Ooh, certainly. Does Soldier GP have a? Do we call it the GPO, not the RKO? So it would be the GPO, right? Because the GPO would be the version of the RKO, right?
I don't know. We already have Craven doing the Craven cutter. I mean, everyone might as well just cutter everyone.
Yeah, listen, whatever works right at this point. Want to watch Luck of the Draw? WCE Heat on YouTube. WCEHeat.com, Skulls, is where you can do. Also, subscribe to Skulls pages on YouTube and Facebook as well. IMF says yes. We'll definitely be in touch. I will read off Adonis' comment. Thank you. And as always, still number one on all and favorite in pro wrestling and other sports. Yes, because we do college basketball. We do college basketball and professional basketball. I have a lot of friends in the basketball world, which you saw a few of them earlier on in the show. Among those watching on the heart of the show, Sportswire Radio. Till then, good night, Godspeed. Till next time, so long, everybody. That's a great cue and segue. And Mr. Jovi, we'll see if you keep your reign as RCW champion intact over these next several days. And looking forward to having maybe another wild night with you and maybe getting wild in the streets. And we'll keep the faith to see if that happens. And certainly it was definitely 7,800 degrees Fahrenheit and some here tonight with you on Sportswire Radio.
Tom, you never fail to keep me happy. you never fail to not make me happy. I just love your Bon Jovi references so freaking much.
Well, I do. Listen, I mean, I know his.
You never
his
fail to
catalog.
disappoint.
I do know his catalog, and they didn't call me a baby Bon Jovi for nothing. But most importantly, that was why I tried out to be a participant in Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. So clearly, that's why I do have a thing or two about different things in pop culture, other things. But forget about all that. I want to thank you, my friend. If you are on sportnarium.com/player, you will go back to your regular scheduled programming. I will be back coming up here this Friday with more wrestling coverage, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 8:30 p.m. British Standard Time, with the reigning, defending Cutlery Championship Wrestling Heavyweight Underground Champion of the World. His name is Grayson Riley. You will not want to miss that one. Grayson's first words since he won the world title at Miners Mania 2. But in the meantime, thank you to our friends over at WCE, our new friends over at the IMF, and most importantly, the resident rock star, our RCW champion, Mr. Shawn Jovi. My name, you know by now, is the Reverend Tom Bryce. I'm the man behind Sportswire Radio. Good night, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are, on the number one global radio station that is Sportswire Radio. Thank you, everybody.